Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. I took a second in between lives to set up a Michael McDonald um, playlist real quick. So now that whole saga is tucked in a playlist so you can easily find it if you ever want to go back and get frustrated. Although I really, really don't suggest, even though we're doing it the last 2 days, watching Michael McDonald and OJ at the same time. But if you're going to be stupid enough, like we are, to watch Michael McDonald and OJ at the same time, please go ahead and watch Daryl Brooks too, because you might as well. You are, don't say that. I gotta be careful with what I say sometimes because I don't really have a filter. Not in real life. I have no filter. I learned quickly not to say anything, even though I talk a lot. It really sucks that I can't really say anything anymore to you guys. I can't talk about anything personal very deeply because we got some assholes that reached out to my personal life and ruined it for everybody. But that's okay. That's okay. People are assholes and then they think they're really good people. And when they mod in other channels, they say how great they are when really they're just assholes. So speaking of assholes, oh my God. Look, look. I don't know if I have the strength to press play on this. Sometimes it gets really hard to press that play button, but the good news is they're both sitting down. So you know what that means? That means they're not standing up. Yeah, I figured that one out all by myself, which means Goldberg is probably questioning Missoula and no one is butchering her name. And our blood pressure won't rise for a little bit. I think Van Addo takes a stand today during this stream. I think, but I'm not sure. Um, when I get my description ready for all of these videos, I try to see what might be happening today to write my description. So I think Van Addo is coming and she gets to go home. And can we all just appreciate again? I know we did it before. Can we just appreciate that Fung is not being tortured today? He's having a good day. I bet you he won the lottery today. I bet you something really good happened to him on April 27th, 1995, that sort of balanced out all the crap he had to deal with while on the stand. Because that's how life works. It's called balance.
Okay. And the item number 47, when is that placed on the envelope?
That is the property ID number that was placed on this particular one would be on the 14th.
And the 112 was placed at the scene.
The 112 was placed at the scene.
Your Honor, I'd like to take a look at another exhibit that's already marked as People's 48B for identification, but I'd like to put it up if we can simultaneously. Okay. Directing your attention to People's 48B, what is that?
That is item 112.
Okay. And can we alternate now back to the coin envelope, item 48? Maybe we can just do that a couple more times. Is that possible? We can put those. Can we put those next to each other? Thanks. So taking a look now at the card number 47 and the photograph that depicts a card number 112, are those the same object?
Yes, they are.
When you got back to the laboratory, the item number 47 and the photo ID was added,
Right back at the laboratory.
and then the DR number.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Now, at the time that you testified at the Griffin hearing, you were under the impression that you had initialed the coin envelopes and the bindles, excuse me, the coin envelopes in the field. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I know we discussed this a little bit on direct examination, but why is it that you believe that to be the case?
Because at the previous scene that I had done, my first scene, that is the way the criminalists at that scene did it.
Okay, and why is it that you did not do that in that particular way on the 13th?
Because Mr. Funk said we would be working as a team. There was only two of us, and it had to be picked up by either one of us.
And similarly, you believed at the time of the Griffin hearing that you had initialed the coin envelopes that you created. Is that correct?
Correct.
Why did you believe that?
Because again, that was the way it had been done at the first scene I had gone to, and I believe that I had done it on the 13th.
All right. And is it your understanding, based upon your training as a criminalist, that what individualizes the bindles in the coin envelopes is the handwriting number that is placed on by the criminalist at the time that they're created? What is your understanding as a criminalist with respect to what individualizes the bindles that are created by the criminalist?
It's the item numbers that are important, because the item number on the bindle ties it to the item number of, say, the blood stain that was collected.
Okay. Now, maybe we can take a look at the other bindle that's contained in item number 47. Maybe you can hold that one up for the jury.
It's a little hard to see.
Oops. And does that have some writing on it?
Yes, it does.
And what writing is that?
It has several initials, some dates, and 112C.
Okay. And is the 112C what was placed on there by Mr. Fung on the 14th?
Yes, it was.
Objection as to what was placed on by Mr. Funk.
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Well, you and Mr. Fung were working on these together, is that correct?
Correct.
Whose 112C is that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain.
Proper foundation.
Do you recognize Mr. Fung's writing?
Somewhat.
And were you there when these were created?
Yes.
Do you recognize whose writing is on that 112C?
It is not mine. It is Mr. Fung's.
Objection has moved to strike the last answer.
Overruled.
Now, the other writing that was put on there, was that at some subsequent time by other people?
Yes.
Your Honor.
No foundation for that. Answer stricken, juries to disregard.
Well, did you see that writing being put on there?
No.
Okay, thank you. You can replace that item. And at the time that you were working on them, was any of the other writing on other than the 112C?
No.
Thank you. You can replace that item.
Oh my God, I am so obsessed with Kathy Estrada on the phone.
Seals.
Totally
She
obsessed.
doesn't
Oh,
have
wait, I
the
forgot.
seals.
All right, with regards to this item,
Totally
112, I'll
obsessed.
direct Mrs. Robertson to reseal, restaple and reseal.
As to the writing that was on the bindle, did you recognize any of that as being writing from other people in your laboratory?
I believed I recognized a few of the initials.
Was there any writing on the item that appeared to be from people that were from an outside lab that you did not recognize?
Sustain.
Have you replaced those?
Yes, she has.
Now, you say that at one point you went into the serology laboratory and saw some of the bindles that you and Mr. Fung created in this case.
Correct.
Are you allowed as a criminalist?
Objection, Your Honor, as to the last portion of the question. There's some facts not in evidence.
Hold on.
Are you allowed into the serology laboratory?
Yes.
You have access to that as a criminalist?
Yes.
Are the people who work in serology your colleagues?
Yes.
Do you know, are you on a friendly basis with those people?
Yes.
Is there any lab policy or rule that prohibits you from going into serology and talking with colleagues?
No.
When you brought the items back from the Bundy and Rockingham location on the evening of the 13th, how did you get into the evidence processing room?
I believe one of us entered the evidence processing room and opened the large outer door.
Can you open the large outer door from the exterior of the facility?
We cannot.
So you have to go in and go through the evidence processing room first?
Correct.
There's a few more people here than normal today, so I just want to let you know you are being lied to right now. This is not how the OJ trial goes. You are lucky enough to see the prosecutor questioning the prosecutor's own witness. Well, wait. Wait until the defense questions the prosecutor's witness. Then you need to buy new monitors because you start throwing things at your monitor and swearing, and screaming, pulling out your hair, drinking a lot of rum.
What is this large outer door in the evidence processing room?
It's a large, heavy-duty metal door that is electric that can be rolled up to gain access to the room.
Okay. And when you went in through the large metal doors, did you bring the items with you, you and Mr. Fung?
That is how we brought them into the room, yes.
Did anyone else go in there with you?
No.
Is it possible that maybe some person ran in there and snuck into the evidence processing room and then hid until you and Mr. Fung left?
Objection, leading speculative.
Sustain.
Well, did you see anyone scurry into the room and hide, waiting for you and Mr. Fung to leave?
No.
All right. And when you left the evidence processing room, were the doors closed
The door was closed
and locked?
and locked. Yes.
Now, in order to get into this door in the evidence processing room, do you need any kind of key or electronic device?
It's operated by a computer lock. We have an ID card that we must put over the lock for the door to unlock.
I wanted to take a look
Fancy
at
for
the, evidence
1995.
evidence drawing board. think it's People's 170 for identification. We happen to have that key card with you that you use.
Yes, I do.
Maybe you could just, we won't, don't worry, we won't mark it as an exhibit, but maybe you
Okay,
could just.
please don't.
Would you describe that for the record, please, Mr.?
Yes, she appears to be holding a plastic card that appears to be about 1/4 of an inch in width. Seems to have a barcode sticker on one side and is approximately 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches.
Large credit card size.
People's 170.
All right, People's 170.
Ms. Mazzola, maybe you could just step down for a moment. Does People's 170 pick most of the major steps that are involved in the evidence drawing process? And you were talking about how Mr. Fung was manipulating the swatches into the tubes in order to set them out for drawing. Is that depicted on this board?
Yes, it is.
Is that cell number 2?
Number 2, yes.
And when he did that, in your presence, did his hands ever come into contact with the swatch?
No, it did not.
And after he does that, what does he,
Objection, Your Honor, and I move to strike, no foundation.
Overruled.
and after he does that, what does he do with the test tube?
The test tube is placed back into the coin envelope corresponding to the item number.
And is the same thing then done for the control swatch?
Identical thing.
Now, when you are working on these items on the evening of the 14th, do you simply line up all the coin envelopes in a big row and then in an assembly line fashion go from envelope to envelope?
No.
Why don't you do it that way?
It's just as easy to work on one at a time. It's safer to work on one item at a time. That's completely finished in the box before moving on.
What advantages are there to working on one item at a time in terms of making it safer?
You decrease the risk of getting swatches mixed up, getting your numbers mixed up, possibility that 2 swatches from 2 different items come into contact with each other or the same surface.
So you're only processing one item at a time.
Correct.
And after that item is processed and both the control and swatches are in their respective test tubes and in the coin envelope, what happens to the coin envelope?
Coin envelopes are placed in a shallow cardboard box for security to hold them together.
And where does this box go?
Box goes into a cabinet where the swatches are allowed to dry overnight.
Thank you. Now I'd like to take a look at People's 171. It's the evidence packaging board.
All right, which item is this?
This is People's 171 for identification.
Thank you.
Ms. Mazzola, direct your attention to People's 171. Does this depict most of the steps that are involved in the evidence packaging portion of the processing phase?
Yes, it is.
And when you were talking about placing the items on a bindle, is that depicted here?
Yes.
And which photo ID number is that?
Photo 1.
All right. And how are the swatches placed on the bindle?
They are placed on the bindle using a long glass pipette.
Can you also do that simply by tapping the test tube onto the bindle itself
And yes,
in either way?
either way.
And what happens to the pipette if you use the pipette technique after you've done this?
Pipette's thrown away.
And the test tube?
Test tube is also thrown away.
All right. And what happens after those items are thrown away?
Well, the bindle is folded up and the flaps are tucked in to secure it.
And then what's done with the bindle?
The item number is placed on the bindle to distinguish it from any other bindle.
And do you also place a number to distinguish the control, or a little C to distinguish the control from the swatch?
Most people do, yes.
Then what's done with the bindles?
Bindles are placed back into the original coin envelopes, and the envelopes are then sealed.
Now, with this procedure, do you do this in an assembly line fashion?
No, one at a time,
And again, why is it that you only work on one item at a time?
for the same reasons as before.
Okay, thank you. You may resume your seat. Now, you were asked about looking at photographs in order to refresh your recollection, and specifically item number 47. I think it was photo ID number 112.
Correct.
When you looked at a photograph that refreshed your recollection, was that a close-up or a perspective shot?
It was a perspective shot.
And what did it show?
It showed the location of item 112 at the scene.
What was it about that item, if anything, that stood out in your memory?
Well, it was the first blood drop on the trail at Bundy.
And when you say the trail, you're talking about the series of dots that started on the walkway and ended in the area of the driveway.
Correct.
And what was it about that, the location of that drop, if anything, that caused you to recall that Mr. Fung had participated in swatching that particular stain?
Well, the fact that it was the first,
Beyond the scope at this point, I believe, is my boss.
it was the first drop on the trail, and it was also at the corner of the house in the front.
Now, you were asked some questions about the blood vial containing the reference sample of the defendant. Did you ever touch that blood vial?
The blood vial itself, no.
Do you ever recall touching the envelope itself?
I don't believe I did.
So did you ever handle the blood vial?
No.
And to your knowledge, did you ever handle the envelope?
To the best that I can recall, no.
I just want to go back to item number 47 for a second, that you looked at. You looked at the photograph in order to refresh your recollection. Could you see in that perspective shot where the blood drop was in relationship to the corner of the building?
Somewhat, yes.
In other words, could you see the placement of the drop, the
Yes.
relative position of the drop?
Yes.
Right. And was it viewing that caused you to refresh your recollection as to that drop?
Sustained.
What was it that caused you to that caused your recollection to become refreshed as to that drop when you saw the photograph?
The fact that it was the first drop on the trail and it's positioned right in the front at the corner of the house.
All right. Now, going back to the blood vial for a second, Was it your belief when you testified at the Griffin hearing that you had left shortly after 5 o'clock?
Yes,
And why did you believe that?
because that is the time that I thought we had left. It did not seem that a long period of time had gone by.
When did you discover that that was not the case?
When Mr. Fung told me to write down that he had received the blood vial and the time.
Now, on either the 13th or the 14th, did you ever have any reason to believe that the issues relating to when and where and how that blood vial and its packaging was recovered would be important?
No,
Or that there would be any kinds of allegations of wrongdoing in connection with the blood vial by the defense or by...
Why would she think that?
No.
Why? Why would she think that? The defense team just created it out of nowhere. Are they saying that someone
Now,
went into
with
the
respect
evidence
to item
room
number 15 and 16,
and manipulated the blood? They didn't say that yet, did they? They're probably going to when it's their turn. Oh my God, guys, when it's the defense's turn, we're going to hear all kinds of crap.
when did you put those items on the crime scene identification checklist?
I believe it was the next day on the 14th.
Maybe I can see, I think it's defense 1107. While they're getting that, I also wanted to take another look at a portion of People's 186, the scene showing Miss Mazzola placing stuff, the items in the back of the LAPD crime scene truck.
Is this the one with the time code on it?
Yes.
How many times do you think it's necessary for us to see that?
I don't know. It seems to come up over and over again. Where I'm only going to see a little snippet of it, Your Honor.
Do you have it queued up?
Maybe we could fast forward a little bit, just up to the point where they put the items in the back of the truck. Okay, let's just go a little bit further. Okay, let's stop for a second. Now, can you see your hands and Mr. Fung's hands in this frame 17/11/57/28?
I could see Mr. Fung's hands and one of mine. Yes.
Okay, let's go a little bit further. Just take a look at your hands and Mr. Fung's hands. We don't have to go in slow motion. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Now, were either you or Mr. Fung carrying anything back into the Rockingham location when you left the crime scene truck after you had placed the kits and also the items of evidence in the rear of the truck?
No.
So did you have your crime scene identification checklist?
No.
Did you have anything at that time that you could use to fill out and record the locations of item number 15 and 16?
No.
Did you have any of your coin envelopes with you or any packaging materials with you at that time?
No.
Okay. Well, Ms. Mazzola, you say that you didn't have your crime scene identification checklist or any coin envelopes. Could have you hidden your crime scene identification checklist and the coin envelopes in your sock?
Sustain.
Well, did you hide them somewhere on your person so that you could produce them later on when you got back to Rockingham?
Overruled.
No.
Did you see Mr. Fung doing that?
No.
All right. Now, I'd like to take a look at Defense 1107. Maybe we can see 15 and 16 a little bit better at the bottom. Okay, that's fine. Now, on 15 and 16, did you write down any measurements as to where the items were actually located?
No,
Did you have your measuring tape with you at the time?
no.
With respect to the other items that were collected at Rockingham that are contained on this list, maybe we can just take a look at item number 1. Starting with number 1, that's the stain that was contained on the Bronco.
Correct.
And even for that, you have some measurements.
Yes.
Do you have measurements for the other items that are contained on this list, including A, B, and C, which A and B, which were not collected?
Correct.
So the only ones that you don't have measurements for are 15 and 16.
Correct.
And why is that?
We didn't have our measuring tape with us.
So when did you place the notations as to where those items were located?
When we placed the items themselves on the identification checklist.
Okay, thank you. Now, you said when you were walking out with the plastic bag that it appeared that the weight was concentrated in a part of the bag. What did you mean by that part of your testimony?
Objection, I don't believe that. She does.
I think she did.
Sustained.
Yes, she did.
Do you recall
Judge
testifying
Ito.
in substance that the weight was concentrated in one part of the bag?
Objection, I asked this leading
Sustained.
question also.
Was the weight concentrated in one part of the bag?
It appeared to be heavier in one area.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, if it was item 15, 16 and the photo ID cards, they really didn't weigh that much. And the weight I felt tended to be in one area rather than spread out over the whole bag.
Now, with respect to the photo ID cards at the Rockingham location, is it your general practice that after the items are collected, the stains, the card would be lifted up?
Yes,
Do you recall seeing a segment of videotape that showed Mr. Fung lifting up some cards in what appears to be the afternoon?
yes.
Do you know whether those were cards A, B, and C?
I don't know for sure which ones they were now.
Do you know for sure whether all the cards were down in the afternoon?
I don't know.
May I just have one moment, Your Honor?
Certainly.
You had years. Let's go. Come on.
To show one more photograph.
No, why is that side so empty today? Look at that. I've never
side?
seen that before in this whole trial.
Which number is this, Mr. Goldberg?
48A.
Is it because we're like on the sciencey boring stuff, you think? Why is this side so empty?
I direct your attention to 48A for identification. Does that depict photo ID number 112, item number 48?
Yes, it does.
And is this the perspective shot that you were referring to?
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Breathe through it. Here he comes. Here he comes, guys. Just breathe through it. Just let it come and go. Go to your happy place. My happy place is closed off. Ah. You had all that time to talk while he was questioning. Let's go.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Yes!
All right,
Yes!
Ms. Mazzola, I'm going to ask you to collect the items before you, return them to Mrs. Robertson, the clerk. You are now excused as a witness, however,
your
you are
cups
subject
away.
to recall. All right?
Clean up your cups. It's been 3 days. You've left cups there for 3 days. Clean them
Counsel,
up.
given the time that we've expended today before the jury, I think we're going to call it quits for today.
Wow. Wow. I can't believe they let her
All right, I
go.
do have a few matters I want to take up with counsel, though,
Oh,
before
yeah.
we leave.
Sanctions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the
Teasers.
jury, thank you very much. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Do not discuss the case amongst yourselves. Form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regards to the case. And have a pleasant weekend. I think I mentioned to you that we have other commitments tomorrow, counsel and myself. We will not be in session as far as witnesses are concerned. Tomorrow
We
we'll
made it.
start again promptly
We
Monday morning,
freaking
9
made it.
o'clock.
Holy
And
cow.
we're going to have
Woo.
a
Woo.
full week of testimony next week. So I'll see you next week.
All right,
All right,
let's
have a
go.
pleasant
Bring it
weekend.
on.
Enjoy the outings.
Enjoy the outings, which means they're stuck there on
And
the
Ms. Mazzola, you may
weekends
sit
too.
down. And would you take
And they
those
get
items, please, over
outings.
to Mrs. Robertson?
The jury is stuck in the jury room and unless they have an outing planned where they can all
Let me
go.
ask counsel, I understand that we're going to have Mr. Matheson as our next witness.
I thought it was
All right,
Van
are we going to
Adder.
need any of these items for him tomorrow?
Do I need any of these for him tomorrow?
Correct.
I mean Monday.
Excuse me, Monday.
Okay, I don't think I need them.
Mr. Who is going to be doing, Mr. Blazer, doing the cross-examinations to Mr. Matheson?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, do you anticipate need of these for cross-examination?
I don't at this time, but I would request that the prosecution have available photographs of those items in case we do need at least photographs referred
I
to.
love field trips. I love them.
Change those to the crime laboratory.
Yes, she is so ordered. And they are in a sealed condition now, Mrs. Robertson? All right.
You know what else we
Mr.
can celebrate?
Goldberg, did you hear Mr. Blazer's comment regarding the availability?
We didn't hear one thing about a dog barking during all of Miss Mazzola's testimony.
Of photographs as to these items?
Woohoo!
I'm sorry.
It's the
Did you hear
little
Mr.
things.
Blazer's request regarding the availability of photographs of these items?
Well, I think we probably have photographs of all of these items because they were sent out to the defense at Albany, and photographs were taken at those times, so they should have all of them. I do not know if we have photographs of the bindles of all of those items.
We certainly won't need them Monday. I understand Mr. Goldberg's going to take at least a day for Mr. Matheson.
All right, well, whoever needs the photographs ought to have them here. I mean, do you have a set of photographs, Mr. Blazer?
We can check to see if we have. I'm not sure we have all of each individual item.
They're in a set of photographs, and
It's my
it would take
understanding.
some going through to find them, but I think they're all there.
Okay. All right, we had one other item regarding the EAP issues on the demonstration board for Mr. Matheson. Do you want to, let's take that up now.
Well, Your Honor, I don't know whether the court had a chance to read our letter brief that we filed.
When did that get filed?
I think it was just today.
Well, in case you hadn't noticed, I've been busy.
I know, Your Honor, that's why I assume that the court probably would have had an opportunity.
No, I have not seen it. All right, I'll read it. All right, are there any other issues that we can resolve?
Is the court going to read it before we have any further argument on that?
If you want me to read it, I'll read it.
I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll read it.
I would like to respond to it. I can do that in writing over the weekend if you like.
How about tomorrow, by tomorrow morning? You can fax it to me.
I'll do that.
But there were also some other,
I will be, I have a session regarding this case tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, so I'll be here.
there were also some other issues regarding EAP that I wanted to raise, and I didn't have an opportunity before the close of yesterday's session.
All right, well, let me ask council to be here then on Monday at 8:30.
Do you not want any argument tomorrow? However, I mean, I'll be here.
No, why don't you file your documents? I've got the reason we're not going to be in session is because I've got other things, other cases, other things to
Okay.
do tomorrow. But if you file whatever you want, then I'll consider it over the weekend, do any research that I need to do.
I know when we talked about this last time, the court suggested that you wanted to hear Mr. Matheson testify outside the presence of a jury in a 402 hearing. Not yesterday, time before that. I don't know whether the court still desires that. It's somewhat of an involved issue in that I think once the court understands the technology and the scientific issues, that the legal issue will become absolutely crystal clear. And perhaps the court would want that testimony first, because I don't know whether I've adequately explained what our position is and why it is that we feel we're entitled to prevail.
Well, as I've indicated to you, I'll read your letter brief, I'll read the cases that you cite, I'll read the response from Mr. Blazier, and then we'll see where we are. All right, at 8:30 on Monday. All right, Mr. Scheck, anything else on the EAP issue? All right, Mr. Scheck.
A brief request, Your Honor, that I think will save us all time in the long run, and I think is something of basic fairness. I understand that they've changed the order of the witnesses now, because we had anticipated Mr. Yamuchi, now we'll have Mr. Matheson. And I've been further informed that the prosecution intends to then start with DNA witnesses. And we've been given a lead time of 3 days. Problem is that the DNA evidence is so voluminous. As of 10 days ago, we got a 200-page handwritten set of notes from DOJ. And I must confess, I haven't read them yet. What we would request is that we be given more advance notice. Just we want to know which labs are coming first, so we can be preparing this weekend. Because if we get that kind of advance notice, then it will go faster. Frankly, given the voluminous data, the continuing results that are coming in, we don't want to be in a position where we would have to turn to the court and ask for some extra time. That would be the last thing we'd want to do, because I want to go home. So I think it would expedite everything if we could have, just as far as the DNA issues, because it's so dense, that we get more advance notice with respect to which set of tests and witnesses are coming first.
Refresh my recollection as to what our specific agreement was regarding prior notices to the witnesses. Was it the next?
Yeah, at least 3 days of witnesses. And what's happened has been changed. They changed the order.
Well, I wasn't that I changed the order of witnesses on Thursday last week.
Well,
And that was, I expected Mr. Matheson to be.
All right, but
we don't want to
who do
fight
you, well, let me just ask, who do you, so I can also get prepared myself. Who do you anticipate for our DNA witnesses? Have you set an order yet? Mr. Clark?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe the first witness will be Dr. Cotton from Cellmark, who will testify to the results in the series of reports that Cellmark has already issued.
All right, who do you anticipate after that?
Then the Department of Justice.
All right, who do you anticipate coming from the DOJ?
At this point, it would appear.
I take it California DOJ.
Correct.
All right.
Gary Sims as well as Renee Montgomery.
All right, who do you anticipate after that?
Mr. Yamauchi, most likely.
All right,
The only other thing that we would indicate that the previous order of witnesses had included the nurse, Mr. Paradas, and Mr. Yamauchi, which we regard as chain of custody witnesses and foundational witnesses with respect to the blood, particularly the blood vial, which is obviously of greatest interest to the defense. They must have some.
it would seem to make some logical sense. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, so we obviously would request, and maybe they can brief it if they want, but we think that certainly the nurse's testimony should come in before they start introducing the test results.
Goes to the nurse's testimony. Mr. Van Adder testified already that he saw the blood being drawn and that he dropped it off to Dennis Funk. There's no further foundation. And even if the court were to require us to put it on in some particular order, there is no further foundation that's necessary.
Well, the issue here is not, first of all, is notice to the defense as to who's coming. Mr. Clark, my guess is that you've just given us 2 to 3 weeks worth of witnesses.
Depends on cross-examination.
They told us that the chain of custody witnesses were going to take a week. That's what we were told.
I have one concern about the last remark of Mr. Goldberg's, which is that it's our position, as it has been all along, no surprise that we have been challenging the chain of custody, and we are challenging that there's not a proper foundation, which is for some of these DNA test results to come in. And I think you yourself said even in your ruling that no matter what the ruling was on the Kelly Fry issues, that the people still have to lay the proper foundation before any witness can testify to results. And I don't believe it's just a New York rule, Your Honor. I'm sure it's a California rule,
Hold
in
on.
every jurisdiction in this country.
I'm saying no, he hasn't, but why do I think that's wrong? I don't know if he was in custody this whole time. I don't know.
As a matter of foundation, you introduce the blood into evidence before you can have anybody testify to what the results are about the blood. You introduce the narcotics into evidence before a technician can testify to the results.
Oh my
Counsel, the
God.
issue hasn't been presented
Oh,
to me yet. I don't have
good.
to rule on it. The issue here is, Mr. Scheck asked, who's coming next?
Josh, you always know what to say to me to make me feel better. Yes, that's awesome. I'm gonna go. Listen, I don't know, but I'm going with what Josh said. He was in custody. I don't care if it's right or wrong. I'm believing that.
He knows. You can take whatever action you feel is appropriate in light of that information.
I just, so that the people are on notice, we will object to any testimony about results, for instance, results of a DNA profile or a conventional serological profile attributed to Mr. Simpson until the blood is introduced in evidence. And the same will apply to swatches allegedly sent to these laboratories by, or any other swatches or anything else, that at least the person who collected it, it has to be introduced.
Well, you're tipping off what your objections are going to be, and we'll see what happens when we get there.
Okay.
One final thing, Your Honor, the people filed a brief today also about, there was no statement of facts, but the subject matter was introducing police reports in lieu of having witnesses testify as business records.
Something to do with lab reports. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and we're very concerned about what it is they intend to introduce that way. We will have certain objections, and we would appreciate some sort of an offer as to what it is they intend to introduce this way so that we can make the appropriate objections.
All right, Mr. Goldberg, that was your handiwork, citing your own handiwork.
I had my able assistant put that together for me. Your Honor, what we're going to do is we're going to put on every piece of evidence and every test result from a single witness in LAPD. We're not going to call any other witnesses. I guess humor isn't very room doesn't seem to be receptive on it. I don't know. It's a humorless group of people, I guess.
Mirthless.
Right?
Mirthless. Yes. All right. Okay.
No, what we do plan on doing is we plan on putting certain chain of custody evidence up through Mr. Matheson that would normally require some other witnesses to be.
Okay, I was waiting. Oops. I was waiting for the freaking short to delete. I posted a short on my personal YouTube channel, not this channel by accident. And I've been waiting for it to delete so I can post it on my channel where it belongs, this channel, Court Vibes, where it belongs. But I must have forgotten, because it takes a while to delete a video. You can't just delete a video and move on with your life. No. When you delete something off YouTube, it takes a while for that to process. And you have to be very careful. Because if you repost that same thing while that other thing is still out in the wild, boom, reuse. You get hit with reuse. That's bad. Trust me, I know. I know reuse is really bad. So I posted this short on my personal channel by accident. So I've been waiting for it to delete off of my personal channel, Fozzie, so that I could post it over here. And I must have forgotten to hit delete. That's why it just took so long. It didn't delete. So I was able to delete it and post it. But I didn't have time to do the description really good yet. I'm going to go back and fix that. It's not a problem.
essentially what he's going to be testifying to.
I got
is
over
that items
1,000
have to
views
be
on my
up in mail
personal
now
channel with
based on
no
the subscribers,
subscribers.
and that's what we're supposed to.
All right.
This doesn't refer to test results.
Okay.
We will object to that, and we'll file something in writing by Monday.
All right. All right. Anybody interested in the 980 hearing? I'll see you tomorrow. Otherwise, have a nice weekend.
Okay, I need someone to take responsibility. I need one of you to take personal responsibility for one thing on my channel. You're not going to get paid for it because I literally maybe make 2 pennies off of every OJ video. So you're not getting paid for it. Or okay, at the end of 1 year, if you successfully take responsibility and do this every day, I will give you 1 penny. But when I press play on a freaking OJ video, this playback speed should be 1.25. We just wasted 50 minutes. We could have gotten through like an hour and 10 minutes, and we only got through 50 minutes of content because we forgot to we forgot to go 1.25. Listen, here's why I'm saying we forgot. Because if I do the slightest thing wrong, I spell a word wrong, and Fozzie has 7 texts right away in chat. Balloon has 2 O's. So, so if you guys are going to get on me for everything I do wrong, then you guys can get on me for not hitting 1.25 immediately. Like, it should be, as soon as I press play, it should be immediately slammed in my face. You forgot to hit 1.25. I need one person to take responsibility and help me do this because obviously I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot that's just wasting your valuable time. I love that you're here. I love that you're here. And the very last thing I want to do is waste your time, even though some of this testimony is actually wasting your freaking time. Okay. Rant over. I have to go now. I'll be back really, 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 really soon. I'm going to press play. It's on 1.25. I'm going to be listening. I'm going to be watching. I got brand new brakes, calipers, and rotors put on my back tires yesterday. So now I can drive way faster because I can stop now. Drive safe my ass, Joshua. Not today. Not today. Just kidding. I'll be driving safe. I will. I'll be back real soon. All right? Be good. We're going to get a new person on the stand, and I hope it's really good. No one's going to complain that I had to get calipers and rotors. No one knows what that means.
Sometimes Mr. Robles is not in the courtroom every day, and although he is trying to have all of his drawings cleared by your representative, he's not been able to connect with her on all occasions, and perhaps that is how one of the drawings was broadcast without someone else in the court seeing it. It certainly was not done intentionally. But he has brought all of the drawings, so if you could identify perhaps for him which one in particular was the one that you saw recently.
All right. Well, counsel, what I propose to do is enter a formal order to both your client and all sketch artists who are involved in this case that their drawings be submitted to the public information officer for approval by the court prior to broadcast. And the court, as you know, Ms. Hazlett is present here in the courthouse every day. And this court rarely leaves the courthouse before 6 in the evening every day. So we'll be available to, in an expeditious manner, review any drawings that you want to use immediately that day.
That would be fine, Your Honor. I think the problem has been there are deadlines, and Mr. Robles does not do his work here in the courthouse as the other sketchroom artists do. I believe they work up on the 12th floor. They perhaps have a little closer access to Ms. Hazlett, whereas Mr. Robles retires to the CBS trailer to complete his drawings, and I think that's how they've missed each other. But
well, if you want, what we can do is set up a regular schedule. At the conclusion of business, we'll be available for, say, half an hour after the conclusion of business every day, or we can be available just before the start of the afternoon session for other deadlines.
I guess we'd have to have both in the instance that if there's a drawing that we need to use in advance of the evening news, it would need to be cleared before the close of session that particular day. If there is a drawing that we don't need to use, then yes, we could have it cleared at the end of the day.
All right, then I'll issue this order and I'll direct Ms. Hazlett to set up a regular schedule where she and the court will be available at the conclusion of each court session, both in the at the conclusion of the morning session, conclusion of the afternoon session. Is that acceptable?
That would be fine, Your Honor.
All right, then that'll be the order. All right, thank you, Counsel.
Thank you.
Mr. Neufeld, people represented by Ms. Clark, Mr. Darden, and Mr. Goldberg. The jury is not present. All right, let's have the jurors, please.
Your Honor, we have a number of matters that need to be resolved before we take Mr. Matheson. I'm wondering if you want to do that now.
Yes, perhaps we should. Hold on to the jurors. Mr. Blazer.
There are several matters. There's the ruling on the serology chart.
All right, I received letter briefs from counsel on both sides with regard to that issue. Mr. Blazer, do you have any further comment you wish to make on that issue that is not included in your letter brief?
Well, the people just filed, or at least they handed me an unfiled copy of further paperwork on this just this morning. I don't know if the court's had a chance to review this or not.
I was handed something and told that it was going to be resubmitted.
No, and I said that we were not. There was only one typographical error, which I corrected in hand and then dated it.
All right, Mrs. Robertson, would you grab that off my desk?
As I understand the argument in this new paperwork, the people are taking the position that there should be no testimony about the EAP-B results of the blood under Nicole Brown Simpson's fingernails on the basis that they're now saying that unless they can testify about these other inconclusive results, this now becomes an inconclusive. And that argument makes no sense to me. First of all, I'm not sure how to respond to it because it's a senseless argument. There are a number of statements.
You mean to say it's a contradictory argument? Never mind, go ahead.
Okay, both. I mean, there are other statements in this this brief that are just flat not true. They talk about how the typing results for the pool of blood under Nicole Brown Simpson shows a banding pattern consistent with a type B, and they say that this result was called an inconclusive B. I would like to have Mr. Matheson's report on this.
Yes. Yes.
If you will look at page 2 of this report, you'll see that item number 42, which is the blood under Nicole Brown Simpson, Mr. Matheson concluded that it was an inconclusive, not an inconclusive B, but an inconclusive. If you look also at the blood on Nicole Brown Simpson's thigh, which is item number 85A and B, in this brief they just filed, it's described as an inconclusive BA. In Mr. Matheson's report,
Number 85?
yes, in Mr. Matheson's report, it is an inconclusive. It is not an inconclusive BA. You'll also note that the fingernails, which are items 84A and B, are not inconclusive at all. They are a B, a straight B. And to represent otherwise, it's just simply not scientifically correct. Now, they may try to explain, well, it sure looks like a B, but maybe it was a BA at some point in time, and we're prepared to deal with that particular argument. But to change these other results to say, well, they were inconclusive before, but now we need to make them something else, is just simply scientifically fraudulent in our view and should not be permitted. So we would submit the matter with those comments on this brief that they just filed, as well as what I've already submitted in my brief before.
Mr. Goldberg?
Yes, actually, Your Honor, it would be scientifically fraudulent not to admit them, and that's why we felt so strongly about this and have insisted on this to the extent that we have in filing a number of points and authorities and making a variety of arguments. We would like to call Mr. Matheson in a 402 hearing because we do believe that when the court understands these issues and it's not immediately apparent why the prosecution is taking the position that we are and why the defense is taking the position that they are. In fact, there's a certain aspect to it that's counterintuitive because if you just look at the results on their face, the EAP result of the pool of the victim's blood being an inconclusive B is inconsistent with the defendant and is inconsistent with the victims in this case and would seem to lend a theory that someone else deposited it. So you would think that the defense would be seeking to get that result in, that the prosecution would be seeking to exclude that result. Because why would we want to put on a result, an inconclusive, albeit an inconclusive one, that's inconsistent with anyone in this case? Why would the defense want to exclude that result? It does seem to be counterintuitive, but when the court understands that scientifically, we know that the pool of the victim's blood has to be her blood, and therefore we know that the true type is a BA, and we know that that's not what we see when we test it. That tells us something about what is happening under the environmental conditions at the crime scene. And it tells us that type EAP BA blood is degrading in such a manner as to create the appearance of a B. And I think Mr. Matheson can communicate this to the court that I cannot, and that's why we would seek to put him on for the purposes of explaining this, and perhaps using a chart that we have that we'd use with the jury to explain what this banding pattern looks like when it's not degraded, what it looks like when it is degraded, to explain the scientific literature that identifies this problem that we quoted in our most recent brief, and to discuss the literature that says that according to some analysts, you are required as a forensic scientist to look at the pool of blood and blood on the victim's clothing as a control study to determine whether or not you in fact have degradation on this one particular marker, because it has certain problems in terms of degradation that the other markers do not have. And we've cited the literature which says that Mr. Matheson is required, according to these authors, to do the precise thing that he is doing, and that he should not, if you accept these authors, express an opinion about the blood under her fingernails unless he's also looked at what's happening in the pool of blood and the blood that's on her clothing or on her person. Now, counsel has given you a copy of the analyzed evidence report, which simply reports inconclusives. It does not give an indication as to whether it's an inconclusive B or an inconclusive BA or what have you. On the electrophoresis worksheet, which in light of counsel's argument, I should probably also mark, only unfortunately my copy has writing on it. I'd like to give the court a clean copy. Do we have it? I'm going to get a clean copy to mark. But it talks about the EAP result on item 84A and B, which are the fingernail scrapings, and 85A and B, which are the dots of blood that came from Nicole Brown's thigh. And the way that it is called on the electrophoresis worksheet, which is the one that is done contemporaneously with the testing while you're actually looking at the plates, the analyzed evidence report is a formal document for external purposes, for attorneys and for the court and so on. But in what is actually a document that is generated at the time of the analysis, what Mr. Matheson says on 84A and B, that being the fingernails, is B question mark. And the question mark typically.
Mr. Goldberg, let's cut to the chase here. Let's assume that as a result of this challenge, the court needs to conduct a 402 hearing. What's your time estimate as to how long that'll take? And how do you suggest we accomplish this as expeditiously as possible, understanding we have a jury?
I understand that, Your Honor, and I don't like 402 hearings, and I don't believe that 402 hearings should almost ever be done with live testimony. So this is contrary to my ordinary practice, because I understand what the court is afraid of here, and that is that it's going to turn into a little bit of a mini trial on an issue where the prosecution feels that there is no factual or legal issue for the court to resolve. The bottom line conclusion that Mr. Matheson is going to give is that based on the totality of the evidence that he has in front of him, that the EAP results under the victim's fingernails are in fact
well,
a BA.
I asked you two specific questions. How long is this going to take, and how do you suggest we do it?
Now, the way I would suggest it is this. Counsel has raised an objection to the people's chart. They haven't tried to limit the scope of Mr. Matheson's testimony or somehow force him into giving an opinion that is scientifically unsound or that is contrary to what he believes as a forensic scientist. So what I would suggest is this. If the court still has a problem with the chart itself for some reason, after looking at the people's brief, and the court believes that it would be helpful to hear more about this issue, then Mr. Matheson should simply be allowed in front of the jury to testify to this result, to other results, to how he's interpreted them, to the forensic science literature and what he believes the literature requires in making this kind of an interpretation, and his bottom line opinion. And after that, I think it will become clear to the court that the chart itself should come in as well as summarizing what is actually placed on the electrophoresis worksheet, because the electrophoresis worksheet does in fact provide that 85 is a BA question mark, or an inconclusive BA. And all of our results on the chart do in fact come either from the electrophoresis worksheet or from the analyzed evidence report. So it's a summary of business records.
Are you suggesting that I conduct this 402 hearing in the course of the presentation
Yes,
of Mr. Matheson.
yes.
I've heard that before. Mr. Glazier?
We certainly object to that. And let me make it clear, we're not objecting to Mr. Matheson testifying as to how a BA degrades and whether it can look like a B or not. We're fully prepared to cross-examine him on that issue. What we're objecting to is him testifying that inconclusive results are anything other than that. And the analyzed evidence report that he prepared was prepared after the worksheets and were based on their observations of the worksheets. This is the report he submitted for the attorneys in the court and for everyone else who wants to know about him. These are the results that he called. He called them inconclusive, and we object to him testifying anything other than that.
Thank you. All right, court finds that this particular issue as presented is an issue that goes to the weight of the testimony, the weight that is accorded to the testimony, not necessarily its admissibility. However, having said that, the court anticipates that we're going to see rather extensive cross-examination as to this particular issue. And I have to indicate to counsel for the prosecution that given Mr. Matheson's original report, I suspect I'm going to have to give rather wide range to the defense as to these, quote, inconclusive indicating a degraded sample. All right, let's have the yours.
There are other issues as well.
Such as?
The prosecution just brought in a new chart this morning on this very issue of the fingernails, and we have no objection to anything on the chart, except there is a picture of Nicole Simpson's body from a long shot that I think it may have been used before in some other context, but it has no meaning really on this particular chart. We think it's overly gruesome and unnecessary.
Mr. Goldberg, will you get to that chart before we break for lunch?
I don't anticipate that I will, but it is possible.
All right, let's assume that we're not going to get to it. I'll take a look at it over the lunch hour.
But I believe
I'd like
it
to
is-
get rolling with the jury
okay,
this
I
week.
believe it is a photo that's been introduced. And then counsel also had another motion
Has
that
to
they filed.
have some
this morning.
relevant stuff, but
What?
I'll look at it over the lunch hour.
Now, we did have an additional motion that Mr. Neufeld is prepared to argue that we filed this morning concerning the order of proof. In essence, we're objecting to Mr. Matheson testifying to any test results on Mr. Simpson's blood before they call, without the proper foundation of the person who drew the blood. And Mr. Neufeld is prepared to.
Well, I assume I'll hear that objection as soon as there's some testimony regarding the blood, a foundational objection.
And finally, there was a brief filed on Thursday, I believe, about the business records exception and
Regarding chain of custody.
regarding chain of custody. We have no objection to testimony from Mr. Matheson about what amounts to ministerial acts of putting things in packages and sending them off to other labs. But we would object if they have any intention of offering testimony about Mr. Matheson testifying about tests that some other person did or evidence collection that some other person did under that exception. But I understand from Mr. Goldberg, they don't intend to do that, so that may be a moot point.
I don't have a present intention of doing that, Your Honor.
Terrific. Glad to hear it. Let's have the jury.
And finally, we would object in advance to avoid a sidebar if possible, that if they intend to ask Mr. Matheson any questions about anything that our experts have done, either at some other location or in Los Angeles, we object to that and want to be heard about that before that's done.
All right, that would seem appropriate. Mr. Goldberg,
I do have a present intention of doing that, Your Honor. And,
this morning's session.
I don't think we're going to get to it this morning.
Okay, give me a heads up when that comes so we can discuss that out of the presence. Let's have the jurors, please. Rejoined by all the remaining members of our jury panel. Previously in chambers, the court conferred with counsel. The court has found good cause to excuse from further service juror number 2. Mrs. Robertson, would you please draw a number of an alternate juror to take seat number 2?
Juror number 1427, can you please have a seat in seat number 2?
All right, Mrs. Robertson, at the noon break, you'll renumber the seats and provide court and counsel with a revised jury chart. All right, Mr. Goldberg, would you call the people's next witness?
Yes, people call Gregory Matheson to the stand.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in cause not pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please have a seat in the witness stand and state so your first and last names for the record.
Gregory Matheson, Gregory Matheson.
Mr. Goldberg.
Sir, what is your occupation and your current assignment?
I'm employed by the City of Los Angeles, working for the Los Angeles Police Department Crime Laboratory. I am currently what is called a Chief Forensic Chemist 1, which is Assistant Director of the laboratory.
Okay. And sir, in that capacity or in any other, are you part of any conspiracy in this case to frame the defendant?
No, I am not.
Or part of any cover-up for the purposes of framing the defendant?
No, I am not.
Now, you said you're the chief forensic chemist,
Yes, that's the title.
and why is it called that?
Well, that's a civil service class that was assigned to that position a while back. It exists in two-step. The Chief Forensic Chemist 1, which is an assistant director position, and the Chief Forensic Chemist 2, which is a laboratory director.
All right. And how many chief forensic chemists are there in the crime laboratory?
Well, there's a total of 3, 1 director and 2 assistants.
Okay, I'm going to get into your training experience in a few moments, but did you perform some of the conventional serological testing on some of the biological evidence in this case?
Yes, I did.
All right, and also, did you participate in managing the sending of items out for analysis to outside laboratories?
Yes, I did.
All right. Now, do you have a degree that qualified you to become a criminalist at the Los Angeles Police Department?
Yes.
And what was your degree in?
Well, I have a degree in criminalistics from California State University at Long Beach.
When did you get that, sir?
Was in May of 1977.
And I want to ask you about some of the other courses that you took since then. Do you have your curricula vitae in front of you? Do you need to refer to that to give us specific dates and times?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
All right, Mark, reflect that Mr. Matheson does have before him a ring binder with a number of pages in it.
Sir, since you graduated in 1977, have you taken a fairly large number of courses in furtherance of your training and experience as a criminalist?
At that point, it depends on what you mean by courses. I have had a handful of what I'd call formal training or courses, along with attendance a number of seminars and meetings and that type of thing.
Okay, I just want to go through some of the courses and seminars that are pertinent to the issue of serology. And let's start with the 1982 2-week FBI class. What was that about?
Well, in 1982, I took a 2-week course called Biochemical Methods of Bloodstain Analysis. It was offered at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. That was mainly about the electrophoretic determination of genetic marker types. It's the steps or the process that's used in what has been called conventional serology to identify the types of enzymes that are present in the body.
Okay, and just so that we're defining some of these terms, when you say conventional serology, that is distinguished from what?
That term came around as DNA analysis in forensics started becoming possible or used within the field. In a way to define the difference, we started calling the systems and techniques that we'd used for many years as conventional, and the rest is being DNA.
And when you say electrophoretic techniques, we'll get into this in some more detail further down the line, but can you just give us a simple definition?
Well, electrophoresis is a process or a technique whereby a gel is poured, samples of biological materials placed on one end of it, electrical current is passed through it, and the end product is a sequence of bands that can be interpreted to tell you what type of blood you're looking at.
And were these techniques, the electrophoretic techniques and ABO type testing, around for a significant period prior to the use of DNA technology?
Yes, they were.
Now, in 1987, did you attend the serology symposium dealing with the collection and preservation of evidence?
There was a symposium held at that year which involved attendance by a large number of forensic scientists, mainly in the California area. I did attend it. However, I was also one of the working groups or met with one of the committees for several months prior to that in preparation of the meeting. The area that I was involved in was standards of training.
Okay, and what was the focus of this particular symposium?
The focus of that symposium, which was to elicit what was the standard practice or the consensus of practice within the forensic community at that point in time.
In terms of what?
What we were calling conventional serology.
Did this deal with any of the collection and preservation aspects, or just the testing aspects?
No, it also involved collection and preservation.
And was there any product that was generated as a result of the symposium, such as a manual or a pamphlet or publication?
There was a kind of a loose covered document that, I don't know the number of pages, it's about a 1/4 inch thick.
All right. And did that cover the subjects of the collection, preservation, and also the conventional testing?
That's correct.
All right. Now, was a lot of focus placed at this serology symposium into the mechanics of how you actually collect a stain from a crime scene?
The actually getting down on your knees and
Right.
No, it didn't go into that aspect of it very much at all.
And do you know why?
The only reason that
Well, you were part of this working group?
No, the working group I was in dealt with training.
Okay. Has the actual mechanics of how you collect a stain been a controversial issue or a widely discussed issue in the forensic field?
No, it is not,
Why not?
because it's a fairly basic process. Even in reviewing a number of forensic texts, there's very little reference to that step. They talk about locating the stains and eventually then, packaging and preserving them, but the actual collection is not addressed very often.
Now, going back to some of the courses that you took in 1989, did you take I guess 2 classes at the University of New Haven, Connecticut?
Yes, they were held at the university. However, they were, it wasn't like a university course, but it was held at that facility.
And can you tell us what the 2 classes were?
Well, one of them dealt with the ABO typing of bone samples, and the other was an overview of DNA.
When you say ABO typing, you're referring to what?
Well, that is, it's a fairly common, what we call genetic marker, is what, matter of fact, is the genetic marker that most people are aware of. You are either a type A, type B, type O, or type AB, and that's a system that hospitals usually use when they're cross-matching blood for transfusions.
Is that also used in blood banking?
Yes, it's what's commonly referred to as your blood type.
Okay. How long has that system been around?
I believe it was originally identified at the turn of the century, 1900.
So one of these courses dealt with, was it just ABO typing of bones, or did it also deal with electrophoresis?
No, that was strictly ABO.
Okay. And and you said the other course had to do with DNA
Yes.
techniques. And what type of DNA techniques did that deal with?
I believe it was mainly about RFLP, but we also spoke a little bit about the PCR technique.
And those are 2 of the techniques that are used in DNA typing.
Yes.
And was this course instructed by a leading advocate of using DNA technology in forensic cases?
Sustained.
Okay. Was the person that taught this course in favor of using DNA technology in forensic setting?
Well, actually, it was taught by several different people. They brought in several different speakers to talk on the different subjects. But yes, most of the people that were there were there because they believe in the technology.
And was there any particular individual that's prominent in the forensic field that taught this course?
Well, one of the people that was involved in both setting the course up and presenting it was a Dr. Henry Lee, which is the head of the Connecticut State Crime Laboratory.
And does he advocate using or support using DNA technology in forensic cases?
Sustained.
Okay. Well, did he actually teach some of the courses or one of the courses that you attended?
I believe he was involved in presenting some of the information.
All right. Did he appear to be a supporter of using DNA technology?
Yes, he did.
Now, in January of 1990, did you take a 2-week course relating to DNA technology in forensic cases?
Yes, I did.
And where was that course held?
That course was held in Denver, Colorado at the Analytical Genetic Testing Center.
How long of a period of time did the course last?
It covered 2 weeks. The first week dealt with this technique I mentioned before, RFLP typing in general, the basic background to it, involved in actually performing some of the tests. The second week focused a little bit more on the technique that was used by the FBI.
Okay. And then in June of 1990, did you attend some training at the University of New Haven and CETUS Corporation?
Yes, I did.
What was that training?
That was a course that was offered by the CETUS Corporation, which I believe at the time was the manufacturer of the PCR kits that were being used for forensics. And it involved the theory and practice and techniques in PCR analysis, along with some hands-on getting a chance to run the techniques ourselves.
Okay. And how long was that course?
I believe it was 5 days.
Now, in addition to these courses that we just mentioned, did you attend seminars of the California Association of Criminalists?
Yes, I have.
And when did you start attending those seminars?
Well, I became a member of the California Association of Criminalists in 1979 and attended every seminar I could go to. From that time till now, I believe they're held twice a year, and I think I've only missed 3 or 4 over that time period.
How long are those seminars?
Normally the last 2.5 days, a full day Thursday and Friday and half day on Saturday.
What range of topics do they cover?
Just about anything to do with forensic sciences.
Do they deal with serology issues in these seminars?
Many times serology is one of the main topics of discussion, both in the papers that are given and outside of them.
And by the way, what is serology?
Serology deals with the analysis of body fluids.
Okay. Now, and you said that these seminars by the California Association of Criminalists are twice yearly?
That's correct. Once in the fall and once in the spring.
And as a result of attending these seminars, do you learn the practices that are standard within the criminalistics profession?
That's part of it. Like I said, the seminars have a wide range of topics, from techniques that may be used in the future that are just becoming available to us, to hints and tips on how to do current techniques better, and just generally kind of dealing with this the topic in general.
Are the forensic scientists who attend these seminars coming only from California, or do they come from other places as well?
No, they can come from just about anywhere. As a matter of fact, our last meeting, which was held in the fall, was done in conjunction with the Forensic Science Society from England, and we had a number of attendees join us from England.
Okay. Now, is there also an organization known as the American Academy of Forensic Sciences?
Yes.
And are you a member of that organization?
Yes, I am.
Do you attend their seminars?
I have attended about 4 of them, yes.
And how long are their seminars for?
Well, they tend to, the actual papers or technical presentations are basically the same as the CAC meeting, the California Association of Criminalists, in that they're about 2.5 days. The meeting itself can run anywhere from 6 to 8 days, because there's an awful lot of ancillary type of activities that go on.
And is that are those seminars along the same line as the California Association of Criminalists, or do they differ?
Well, in that they cover a lot of different areas of forensics, they're the same. They are significantly larger, though, because that's a national organization, and it's composed of not just criminalists, but forensic pathologists and odontologists and dentists, and a lot of different areas in forensics. And each of these specialties are meeting at the same time in different areas of the same facility.
So when you attend one of these meetings, do you go to all of the presentations, or just the ones that are involved in your area specialty?
Well, you can't go to all of them, because a lot of them are running at the same time. I try and not just stay with what I've spent most of my time with, and that's serology. I like to attend all those that seem interesting or appropriate, but also get out and get some exposure to some of the other areas.
And as a result of attending these meetings, do you also get an idea of the standards and practices that are being used in the forensic community on a nationwide basis?
Yes.
All right. Now, you mentioned this manual that was generated from the serology symposium, but other than that, have you had the opportunity, or have you had time to publish papers yourself while you've been working at the Los Angeles Police Department?
I have never personally published any sort of scientific paper.
And why is that?
Well, normally, an awful lot of the papers that appear in scientific journals and that type of thing deal with research, validating existing systems, bringing new systems online, that type of thing. My interest has not been in research. I enjoy applying the technology. I've always enjoyed doing casework. And a mere fact of the fact that we're with the Los Angeles Police Department, and our criminalistics laboratory has a very high caseload. There's unfortunately a lot of crime in the city, and it does keep us busy just doing casework. So it's a combination of the two things. I don't have a strong interest to get out there and publish and do that, and I enjoy doing casework, and there's plenty of casework for us to do.
When you say casework, you're referring to what?
Anything that comes into the laboratory associated with a crime or incident within the city of Los Angeles could range from the type of casework the laboratory gets, runs the gamut from narcotics to serology cases associated with homicides and rapes to blood alcohol analysis, just about anything.
Okay, let's turn a little bit to your professional career. When you were in school getting your degree in criminalistics, did you work for any law enforcement agencies?
Yes, I did.
What agency did you work for?
For the Culver City Police Department.
And in what capacity did you work for the Culver City Police Department?
My title was a community service aide, and then it got changed to community service officer. Basically, it was a student position. It was part-time during school, and then full-time during vacations and holidays. I worked a couple of different assignments. I was with them for about 5.5 years. Initially, I was assigned to patrol, where I'd go out and assist with booking prisoners when they came in, take burglary reports, simple things. Occasionally, have to write parking tickets, that type of thing. I eventually, actually, as soon as I could, get transferred out of that area into our identification unit, because that interested me more. And in that unit, I learned how to process a crime scene. I'd fingerprint burglary scenes, photograph scenes, go out and fingerprint and photograph whatever type of crime scene that happened to come up.
You said identification unit. What's that?
Well, normally, crime laboratories tend to exist only in the larger cities, counties, state, federal government, that type of thing. Small municipalities, as a rule, do not have crime labs. They have what are called ident sections or identification sections. They focus in on evidence collection, fingerprinting, and photography.
When you were working with the identification section of the Culver City Police Department, were the people that you were working with criminalists, or did they have some other job classification?
Well, we're talking about a small department. The person that I worked directly with would be another civilian. It happened that the two people that I worked for, they were identification technicians. They were both retired. One from the Los Angeles Police Department as a fingerprint person, and the other was retired from the LA County Sheriff's as a fingerprint person.
But did they also do things like collect biological evidence, or was it limited to fingerprints and the like?
No, if there was a reason, if there was a crime that involved biological stain or evidence, either they or I would, depending on who handled the particular scene.
So they were collecting biological evidence, even though they were not criminalists?
That's correct.
Okay. Is that standard through?
I heard this while I was driving, man, and I'm like, oh, 402 hearing, 402 hearing. I should know what that is by now, and I can't remember what it is.
About the state in terms of the way law enforcement agencies, or many law enforcement agencies, collect biological evidence?
Sustained.
Well, sir, are you aware of the standards and practices in a variety of law enforcement agencies as a result of your participation in these various state and national organizations you've testified to?
Oh, I am aware that the personnel that are used to perform different tasks varies from agency to agency.
And do some agencies use criminalist, whereas others?
I just looked it up. So if the 402 hearing, I know I drove really fast because my brakes work. The 402 hearing is if someone wants to put in some evidence and it's disputed by the other side. They have to have a 402 hearing to see if the evidence can come in or not. And we know that. We've heard it a million times. We just forgot.
To use technicians, identification technicians?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, in the case of the City of Los Angeles, we have criminalists. We do not have ID techs or identification technicians. So we use criminalists to collect that. Like I mentioned, many smaller municipalities that don't have crime labs have their ID techs collect the evidence. And actually, there are some cities that have their own crime lab that also hire ID techs that are the ones that go out and process, mainly the simple scenes, but process scenes.
Okay. Now, when did you first join the Los Angeles Police Department as a criminalist?
It was in June.
Yesterday, the brakes were fixed. And I bled them, ish, I thought. I bled them. And then I went to pick my daughter up from work. And my brake pedal went the whole way to the floor, the whole car ride. It was terrifying. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die today. Today I'm going to die. And we bled them again, and they're fine now.
Of 1978.
And by the way, are you a sworn personnel as a criminalist?
No, I am not. Our criminalists are civilian.
Okay. Now, when you first joined the Los Angeles Police Department in 1978, what was your first assignment?
I was hired in as a criminalist 1, and I was assigned to the toxicology unit.
And how long were you at the toxicology unit?
I worked toxicology from June of 1978 until I believe it was early January of 1980, so approximately 18 months.
What was your next assignment after you were finished in toxicology?
Okay, after working toxicology, I was transferred to what we call a special testing unit. And in that unit, I dealt with maintaining a couple of analytical instruments, running some of the more unique or unidentified drugs or narcotics, bomb debris analysis, poisons analysis, variety of different things.
So what does special testing do in terms of, I mean, do they just test anything and everything that's unknown, or what?
Well, with the way our laboratory is laid out, the special testing unit has some specific assignments, such as any sort of bomb residue case, a poison case, that type of thing, go directly to that unit. Beyond that, basically the people that work that unit get whatever doesn't fit into any of the other units. It's things that may handle some sort of unique or special handling.
Okay. And you were there for 18 months, you said?
Actually, it was a little longer. I believe it was from January of 1980 until I think it was August of 81. So it'd be about 20 months.
All right. And where did you go after you were finished with your assignment in special testing?
After that, I was assigned to serology.
And how long were you assigned to the serology unit?
Well, as a criminalist 2 or doing bench work, it would have been until I believe it was May of 1988 when I was promoted to what was called a Crim 3 then, which was our supervisor position.
Were you a supervisor in serology initially?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Now, you used another term. You said bench work. Is that the same as casework or different?
Yeah, that's a term that's used for the person that's actually sitting working on the evidence, doing the analysis. Is called bench work.
Okay. How long have you been a supervisor at the Los Angeles Police Department and the Crime Laboratory? How many years?
Actually, I probably should have referred to my notes before. It was May of '89 when I was promoted. So it'd be from May of '89 until October of '94 that I was a supervisor.
So when you were first a supervisor, were you supervising anything other than serology at first?
Well, my unit was serology. I was also a member of one of our special field response teams that goes by the name of the Forensic Accident Investigation Team. That was formed while I was a Crim 2. Myself and two other criminals were assigned to this. It was a special assignment to go out and collect evidence from specialized crime scenes, mainly those that were vehicular-related homicides, hit and runs, that type of thing. When I became a supervisor in May of '89, I was supervisor then of serology plus of this team that I was on.
And when you initially became a supervisor and you were supervising this team in serology, did you still play an active role in the bench work that was going on in the unit?
Yes, I did.
Right. And in addition to that, did you also have any function in terms of reviewing reports and confirming results and the like?
Yes, as supervisor of the unit, one of your goals is to, or jobs, is to review the analytical notes that come out of the criminalists or the analysts that work in the units before a report can be submitted out. We want to have it reviewed by a supervisor and either signed as being complete and accurate or returned to the analyst for either correction or updating, whatever required.
Were you performing any function in terms of actually reading other people's electrophoresis plates or photographs of the plates?
Actually, for the first 3+ years of being supervisor of the unit, I was still doing casework. Obviously, it wasn't at the same level as I was before, but I was still a analyst within the laboratory. In addition to that, these electrophoresis plates that I previously described with the bands on it, they were always co-read by the original person that did the run, plus then somebody else that was following up on it. Didn't have to be a supervisor, it could be a co-worker. I continue, as a matter of fact, to this date, still continue to occasionally co-read plates.
Okay. Now, approximately 6 months ago, did your position within the crime laboratory change?
Yes, it did.
And what did it change to?
Well, in October of 1994, I was promoted to my current position of Chief Forensic Chemist 1, and I currently manage what's called the Forensic Analysis section of the Crime Laboratory, which includes not only serology, but other units such as our Trace Analysis Unit, Chemical Processing Unit, which does fingerprints in-house, our Firearms Unit, a Valley Unit, and Question Documents.
And are you still performing bench work in this capacity, generally speaking?
No, I'm not.
All right. Are you still performing work in terms of looking at other people's electrophoresis plates and co-reading them?
Occasionally. It is not near as often as it used to be, obviously, but if somebody has some work that's been completed and they want it reviewed and there isn't anybody else available in the unit for whatever reason, then they have come and asked if I go back and do a co-reading on it.
Are there any plates that only you are qualified to read or that you have to read in the laboratory?
There is one system that called haptoglobin that I tend to co-read more than anybody else. I don't know if anybody else.
How do you spell haptoglobin?
HAPTOGLOBIN, I think.
And why is it that you tend to co-read that more than others?
Well, everybody has their own interest when it comes to a particular system or something within the unit. One of the criminals that works the unit now is the one who runs them the most, and she and I have worked together with it on the past. So I tend to read them for her when she has one of these come available. I haven't done it in, I think it's probably been a month or month and a half, so either she's not running that system as often or somebody else now in the unit is trained in co-reading.
Okay. Now, with respect to some of the professional organizations that we asked about, is there also an organization called the American Board of Criminalists?
It's the American Board of Criminalistics, yes.
Criminalistics. And what is that organization?
That is an organization whose function, actually sole function, is the certification of criminalists on a national basis.
And did you play any active role in that organization?
Yes, I did.
What was that?
I was involved in forming it. I believe it was in 1987 or 88. A group of people was called together, and I was one of those who was invited to attend as a guest because I had some experience in a certification program, a meeting held back in Chicago. And out of that meeting, eventually was born the American Board of Criminalistics, a incorporated nonprofit organization. And like I said, I was part of that original planning group of it. And then for the first 2 years of its existence, which I believe was from February of 90 through 92, I sat as the vice president of that organization.
And when you say that this was involved in certifying criminalists, what does that involve?
Well, the process of certifying somebody is that you want to know or have some sort of indication that they possess the basic skills, minimum skills and knowledge to be able to perform their job. And in criminalistics, there was a lacking of a system like this, particularly on a national basis. So what we did is, in establishing this organization, gave the professional criminalists throughout the country a body with which they could apply to, take a test, do proficiency testing, these type of things, to be able to demonstrate that they have the minimum criteria necessary to do this type of work.
And what type of showing does a person have to make, or a criminalist have to make, in order to get the certification?
Well, there's actually a couple different levels of the certification process. To be in the American Board of Criminalistics, to be what's called a diplomate, you have to have, I believe it's 2 years experience in forensic sciences. You have to pass a written examination that is on general criminalistics, not in any one particular field, and be working in the field, actively working in it.
And do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Now, is there also an organization known as the California Association? Well, we talked about the California Association of Criminalists, and you said you joined in 1979.
Yes.
Did you hold any sort of positions within that organization other than just being a member?
Yes, I have.
And in 1987, did you begin to hold a office in that organization?
Well, in 1987, I was made the chair of the certification committee. At that time, the California Association of Criminalists was interested in starting the certification program, actually before the national effort began. And the first step towards doing that is putting together a committee. I was the first chair of that committee when it was formed. I believe it was either in January or February of 1987, and held that position until the program was actually up and running and we were testing people and offering certificates.
Right. And did your status in that organization change in approximately May of 1990?
Yes. In May of 1990, I was appointed to the position, a board of directors position called the Regional Directors South. Our association is basically divided in North and South. And I sat on that position on the board of directors for 1 year.
And then in May of 1991, did you run for president of that organization?
Yes, I did. Actually, you run for a president-elect. It's a 3-year commitment. The first year you're president-elect, you sit on the board. It's a board position, kind of learn the job. The second year is as president of the association. The third year then is the immediate past president, where you still stay on the board, have an active position in it, but it gives you a chance to wind down and assist the current president.
And did you serve in that capacity for those 3 years?
Yes, I did.
So then your term ended in May of 94?
That's correct.
Do you continue to serve on any committees or any organizations within the California Association of Criminalists today?
Yeah, at the moment, I currently belong to 2 committees. One of them is a publication committee that is involved with putting together our newsletter, and the other is a financial review committee. I would have liked to have been more active on it, but I've been a little busy lately. So though I belong to them, I haven't been as active as I'd like to be.
And are you also a member of the California Association of Crime Lab Directors?
Yes, I am.
What's that?
That's an association that I don't know what our current membership is. I think it's probably in the 80 to 90 range. That's made up of managers and supervisors of crime laboratories, mainly in California, but we also have members from other states.
And while you were working in the serology section of the Los Angeles Police Department, can you give us an estimation of approximately how many ABO tests you performed during that period of time?
I'd like to, I didn't memorize those numbers. I did make myself up a kind of review chart of the type of tests and the quantities that I did. During the course of my career in serology.
Hold on just a second. Let counsel review the chart that you're referring to. Thank you, counsel. Proceed.
Okay, in the area of ABO typing, I estimated that I've done approximately 6,500 of those type of tests.
Okay. And approximately how many electrophoresis tests have you performed on something called PGM subtype?
That would be, it was approximately 1,000.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask you a little bit about crime scenes. Have you had any experience in actually going out to crime scenes during your professional career at the Los Angeles Police Department in processing crime scenes yourself?
Yes, I have.
And approximately how many crime scenes would you say that you've processed?
My best guess is about 150. I didn't have real good statistics on that, but that was my best estimate. I think it's conservative.
Have you ever rigged up any mock crime scenes for training purposes?
A couple, yes.
And when you attend these seminars at the California Association of Criminalists and the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, do they cover do they cover crime scene investigation as some of the topics in those seminars?
Sometimes they do, yes.
Have you trained any people within the Los Angeles Police Department in terms of crime scene investigation?
Yes, I have.
Have you trained any people outside of the SID section of crime scene investigation techniques?
Yes.
Who would that be?
Well, I have been one of the instructors in a couple of our detective training courses that we offer. One of them is the sexual assault detective school. They obviously focus more in scenes and evidence collection related to sexual assault. I also have taught for a couple of years at our homicide detective school, teaching them on the division's capabilities, SID's capabilities when it came to crime scene and simple evidence collection techniques. I also teach at a detective supervisor school, and we touch lightly on field techniques.
When you say evidence collection techniques, have you ever taught detectives how to collect a stain using LAPD's procedures?
Talking about a biological
Yeah.
stain? Yes, I have.
And why are detectives taught that?
Well, we want the detectives to be able to have the capability of collecting biological stains, blood drops, that type of thing, if a criminalist isn't available. Though we do have an on-call system where a criminalist is available to be called out any time of the day or night to assist with evidence collection, we're not always called. Sometimes the scene may only have 1 or 2 drops or 1 or 2 items. They don't feel it's necessary to call us, but that's still evidence that we want to have captured for later analysis. So we have been for, I believe it's the last at least 6 or 8 years, training homicide detectives mainly on the proper techniques for collecting biological evidence. We supply them with a blood collection kit, which is simply a file box with the tools that are necessary in it to collect those samples.
And are they taught how to, take a control and use the distilled water and use the tweezers and the whole 9 yards?
Yes, they're both shown in a demonstration form. We talk to them about it. It's demonstrated to them, and if time permits, we have them practice it within the class.
And are detectives, in fact, collecting biological evidence in the Los Angeles Police Department and submitting it to your laboratory for analysis?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Now, does the Scientific Investigations Division also have a field unit?
Yes, we do.
And who supervises that now?
Right now, the unit is, they have a lead criminalist, or what we call a criminalist 3, that's in charge of that unit. That person also works in another unit. Our trace supervisor is the immediate supervisor of them, and then I manage it.
Now, why wasn't the field unit assigned to processing the evidence or collecting the evidence in this case?
The deciding who ends up processing a scene is mainly a function of what time the call comes in. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have people that are on call, criminals that are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. However, if a call comes in during working hours, normal working hours, which for our field unit is 7:30 to 4, Monday through Friday, rather than send the off-watch person who may have been up the night before or may be going out the following night, we send somebody from this field unit to do the evidence collection.
Are the people assigned to the field unit necessarily more experienced in crime scene processing than the individuals that are criminalists who are on rotation?
No, not necessarily. They can be. Our field unit consists only of Crim 2 individuals, or those people that have advanced to the point where they could handle a crime scene by themselves if they had to. However, we rotate people through that unit just like we rotate people through our off-watch on-call situation.
So if in this case the evidence shows that there was a Bronco search that occurred on the 14th during the daylight hours, why would the field unit not respond to that as opposed to Mr. Fung and Andrea Mazzola?
Well, what we try and do is maintain some consistency throughout a particular case. If it's possible, the person that handled a scene, say the night before or week before, if some sort of follow-up occurrence occurs, like a car search or an additional scene, we want the same people handling it that handled the original scene. So in that case, that's why we did not send out somebody from the field unit.
Would you always have to, if you had 2 criminalists that responded to the first scene on day number 1, will you always send the same 2 criminalists to the second scene, or can just one or the other go?
No, we can. It depends on the circumstances. We can just send one of the team, or if neither one of them is available, we will go and send somebody from another part of the laboratory.
But is there any rule that if you use 2 on day 1, you have to use the same 2 on day 2?
No.
Right. And typically within the Los Angeles Police Department crime laboratory, do you always send 2 criminalists to investigate a crime scene?
We try and get 2 people out to a scene whenever possible, yes.
Are there instances where only one is sent?
Well, we make an evaluation as to the complexity of the scene. If it appears that it's going to be something very simple, maybe a simple car search or something involves going to a tow yard and doing an examination, there are times where we will send only one. But we believe 2 people can do a better job.
And was there ever any management decision that was made not to send Andrea Mazzola out to certain subsequent scenes after the 14th?
Overall. As far as, I mean, there obviously are decisions made when somebody is sent or not sent. So in that case, it was. There has never been a decision made that said she will not handle any more scenes. No,
Well, that's what I meant. There was never a decision like that.
that's correct.
So if on a subsequent scene you only, because of the complexity, needed one person, you would send one person out.
That's possible, yes.
Now, in this particular case, before testifying, have you watched some of the proceedings or heard some of the proceedings on television or on the radio?
Yes, I have.
And have you heard some of the testimony and seen some of the testimony relating to the crime scene processing?
Yes, I have.
And did you also speak to me about the testimony that you were going to give?
Yes.
What were the nature of those discussions?
Mainly, it was a two-way thing. I was in preparing you for what I was going to be testifying to, just as you would talk and tell me some of the areas that we were going to discuss. Normally, it is just acquainting each of us with styles and with general topic areas that are going to be brought up during direct examination.
Did you also provide me with some instruction in terms of how ABO typing and electrophoresis is performed and certain technical topics such as that?
Yes, that was part of my comment about preparing you for it. There has been kind of a training process going on to acquaint to acquaint you with the techniques and the procedures that we use.
Have you also talked to any defense lawyers and provided them information about the case as we progressed?
Yes, I have.
And is there any rule within the LAPD crime laboratory with respect to talking to defense lawyers? I mean, how does that work?
The only rule that we have deals with discovery materials, and that is that if items are going to be released to the defense, that the prosecutor's office is aware of it, and that if it isn't your own work, that the original criminalist is aware that these informations are being provided. Beyond that, there is no specific rules about whether, who you can or cannot talk to with regards to a case.
Do you talk to defense lawyers?
Yes, I do.
And is it common for criminalists to speak with the person that's going to be calling them as a witness prior to getting on the witness stand and testifying?
Yes, it's not only common, it's preferred. We want to make sure that everybody understands what's going on, that you have a chance to discuss the issues.
Let's get a little bit into the issue of collecting evidence. First of all, what does it mean from a criminalistic standpoint to collect evidence of the crime scene?
Well, collection involves everything from documenting where the evidence is, describing the item of evidence that's to be collected, the actual process of picking the evidence up off of the ground or off of whatever item it might happen to be, eventually packaging it and describing it for a property report, and then what's called booking it in or placing it into our property facility.
And when evidence is collected by criminalists at the Los Angeles Police Department Scientific Investigations Division, do you use some sort of form in the field for the purposes of doing that?
We have actually a couple different sets of forms. One of them that I believe is called a crime scene checklist, and the other is a vehicle search checklist.
Do you have that? I wanted to show you Defense 1107 for identification. Ask you some questions about that. It's the page, Your Honor, that is in table form. Chart form, I should say. Can you see, is the resolution good enough so you can see that, Mr. Matheson?
I can see it, I can't read it, but I can see what it is and I recognize what it is.
Okay. And is that one of the pages in the crime scene identification checklist?
Yes, it is.
And is this page typically filled out contemporaneously with the evidence collection or with certain phases of the evidence collection?
Most of the information is, some of it is filled out later on.
Well, in terms of the numbers and measures, are those done at the time that the measurements are actually done or shortly thereafter?
Yes, I would expect it to. The item number along with a kind of brief description of what it is, such as red stain, coat, whatever it happens to be, along with the location of where it was found, if it was on the street or on a bed, and then measurements in the room or location if that's appropriate.
Now, are there any strict rules in the Los Angeles Police Department laboratory with respect to how this form is to be filled out?
No, there isn't.
And do you have a function now in reviewing these forms after they come back from the field?
Yes.
Now, with respect to the photo ID number column, or ID photo number, actually, excuse me, it just says ID photo. What is that to be used for generally?
For me, I have always considered that a checkbox as to whether or not a photograph was taken of a particular item out at the scene. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Either photographer is not available or whatever. And that's been the place where I see, yes, a photo was taken, check it off.
Have you noticed any other practices?
I believe that there have been a couple people that use that as an indication of maybe a alternate number location if there was a different number used or something. I'm aware that people have different interpretations of what that column means.
And is there any requirement that you have to check off everything in that column?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Now let's move the form over a little bit. And what about the by column? What is that to be used for?
My understanding of that is that's a spot where you put your initials, the person that was involved in collecting the evidence.
What if you're working in a team? How is that to be used?
Well, in the same way, if you have a couple of people out there and for some reason it may be important at some point to know who picked it up, it would be nice to have the initials of the person that was involved in it, but is not necessarily required.
And if you're working in a team and both people saw a particular piece of evidence collected, is there any standard practice with respect to whether you say the person that physically picked it up, its initials should go in there, or both people's, or how's that handled?
No, we currently don't have consistency on that.
Okay. And what about the time column? How do you use the time column personally?
Normally, I use a time column to bracket things. If I'm going to be, many times in the situation of picking up evidence, you go through and you locate the evidence, have it photographed, you put your numbers down, have it photographed with the numbers, do your measurements. You kind of work in groups of items in, say, a particular vicinity or locale at a scene. What I would do is record the time of the first item in a group that I pick up, a rough guess as to what time it is, look at my watch or something like that, and then I record the time of the last item in that group and just run a line between them. Sometimes I don't even record that information on this form. I've also been known to write it on the packaging or the envelope and then come back and fill that information in later.
So if you had 10 items, you would know in that particular group, you'd know when the first and the 10th were collected with some specificity.
Roughly, yes.
And then everything else would just be an arrow between those two times.
A line, yes.
Do other criminalists use that in the Los Angeles Police Department?
Yes.
And are there other practices that are used?
Well, there are some people that record the time for each and every item that they pick up.
Okay. Now, from a serology standpoint, if you're talking about a stain that was collected at, let's say, 11 o'clock, and then a second stain that was collected at 11:15, is there any forensic relevance to knowing that one was at 11 and the other one was at 11:15 generally?
Objection. Stay.
Well, is there any significance from a serology standpoint to the time difference?
No, there isn't.
Okay. Now, within the forensic community, based upon your membership in these various organizations that you've discussed, are you aware of any consistent practice with respect to when you are working in a team investigating a crime scene, whether you should signify who physically collected a particular piece of evidence, whether you should separate it out?
I don't remember having any discussions about that.
That is not a hot topic within the forensic community.
No, it isn't.
All right. What about the issue of the times? Is that a hot? I'm sorry.
Somebody is in
Did you locate
big
that item?
trouble. Somebody's in trouble.
Irish Goldberg, proceed.
And what about with respect to the portion of the list that says time or notating the time? Does that appear to be a controversial or hot topic within the forensics community as to how you should fill that kind of information out?
Not in specifically how it should be filled out.
All right. What is the goal that is the criminalist is trying to achieve in generating this paperwork? I mean, why do you even have to bother with it?
Well, the main reason is to be able to locate where the items came from. The most important piece of information that is on there, or the sequence of information that exists on that form, is the item number, the location where the item came from, and a description of the item itself. That way you can track that item through the system. Many of the other items that are on there are nice to have, but the most important thing are those three items: the number, the location, and a brief description of what it is.
So do those three items help you to place a particular piece of evidence back in the crime scene? In other words, figure out where it came from specifically?
Yes, well, it relates back to the photo that was taken of it, so you can see a picture of how it was at the scene, and gives you a location of, in general, where it was.
But if you have a photograph, is it absolutely necessary to even have this kind of information? I mean, isn't it duplicative to a certain extent?
Well, to a certain extent, but not completely. Photographs are not perfect in their depth or their perception as to where they are. It's still nice to have, measurements to generally locate it, where it is in relation to other items, in relation to a room, or in relation to a victim, something like that.
Okay. Now, is there any rule within the Los Angeles Police Department as to whether this form can be filled out in pencil or pen or any other writing instrument?
No, there isn't.
And with respect to erasures, is there any rule on that?
No, there isn't.
If the form is a mess to the point that it's difficult to read, can the criminalist rewrite it?
We talking about the whole form?
Or portions of it?
Yeah, there's no rule that says they can't rewrite or clarify certain areas of a document.
Maybe we can just look at the next. 18 or 19. This is also 1107, Your Honor.
All right.
Have you seen this, taken a look at this document before?
Yes, I have.
For instance, on this document, if you wanted to clean it up to place it in numerical order, and because some of the items appear to have been erased and written over, is there any rule that would prohibit you from doing that?
Oh, well, but we have gone over this
Well, but
previously.
yeah, but it's something that the defense has made a lot of.
But we have
Deal
gone
with
through it. We've discussed it.
No, Judge
Get his
Ito.
perspective as a manager, but I think
Oh, hell no. No. You do not get to let the defense go on for weeks about something and then stop the prosecution from answering. No.
I think we've about covered it.
I know, and it's just one question on this, and we
One
spent
question.
about an hour on it during the defense case.
Wait, counsel. One question. Proceed.
Can you repeat the question?
I hope I don't get in trouble. With respect to this type of form, if the criminalist wanted to clean this up because there are erasures or just to put things back in numerical order, would there be any rule against that?
There would be no rule with them rewriting it from an administrative point of view. I'd like to have the original still thrown in with the notes. But if it made things clearer to rewrite things or reorder them, that would be fine.
But is there any written policy or oral policy on that one way or the other that you're aware of?
No, there isn't.
Now, you said that part of your function is to, currently as a supervisor, is to review, thank you, the crime scene identification checklist when they come back. Did you do that in this particular case? Did you review these?
Well, when I was supervisor of the trace or serology unit, I also at one point was given the trace unit. One of my duties did involve the review of field notes as it related to crime scenes. These were not reviewed prior to their photocopying and distribution.
Why was that?
It was mainly a function of the hecticness of the time. We were involved both in this case and along with many other ones that go on constantly within the city. Mr. Fung does not work directly in our facility. He's in one of our satellite locations, and he had the notes with him for a period of time. And it was just a matter of circumstances that by the time we got copies of the original ones for distribution, they had not been reviewed at that point.
And who was supposed to actually review those while you were the trace supervisor? Was it supposed to be you personally, or did you have someone under you?
The normal process would be the notes would be left in a box in our trace unit. They'd be initially reviewed by our lead or the CRIM 3 of the field unit, and then he would give them to me with the recommendations of either filing them because they're complete or suggested things to advise the criminalist on when it came to maybe making them more complete prior to filing.
And did you have a CRIM 3 of the trace unit at the time that this case was, at the time that Mr. Fung and Ms. Mazzola went out and investigated the crime scenes?
Yes, I did.
Okay, was he at that time reviewing them, or were you doing it?
We were both doing it. He was reviewing the majority of them, but I was also involved in that.
Okay. And what is the purpose of reviewing them at all?
Well, it's kind of a twofold purpose. One of them, we are looking to see if they're complete or as complete as possible, that they have recorded things like field tests that were performed, that mainly that they were as complete as possible. If there were areas that were left undone, we would send them back to the criminalist. And if he had that information available, we would ask them to make them complete. If they didn't have it, or you'd have to just make guesses on the information, we didn't want that. At that point, it becomes a training process in that we point out to them, next time maybe you should put a little more detail here. You should make sure your measurements are all included, whatever it happened to be, so that the next time they went out in the field, their notes would be more complete than they currently are.
So on occasion, you will ask someone to actually add something to the crime scene identification checklist to add some additional information.
I will if I am sure that they know that information, that they're absolutely positive and they're not just putting something in there to fill it in.
And other than that, the review process serves a training function.
That's correct.
Now, on the crime scene identification checklist, in this case, there's been some testimony that Andrea Mazzola was placed on as the officer in charge on the Bundy list. Her name.
I'm aware of that, yes.
And is there any significance to that?
No.
Why is that done typically? What does that signify?
Well, the OIC or officer in charge, just normally by habit, is the person who is on call. Officially that weekend, Ms. Mazzola was the criminalist on call. When Detective Headquarters Division, which is the section of our department that dispatches us, has a homicide scene where a criminalist is requested, they go to a sheet that we supply them on every Monday and Friday and refer to the name of the criminalist that is available. And the name appearing on that sheet was Ms. Mazzola. She then, because of the fact that she was a Crim 1, would call the Crim 3 that was responding with her, the supervisor, in this case, Mr. Fung. So it merely was an indication of the fact that it was her weekend on call and her name was placed on top.
And that is how it's typically done? Is that what you're testifying to?
Yes.
All right. Now, with respect to collecting evidence, again, do you have a practice, and when you're talking about biological evidence, of collecting representative samples?
Yes.
What does that mean?
To me, a representative sample is, well, probably the best way to do it is by a example. If you have a blood trail that leads away from a scene or into a scene or whatever, if you have a blood trail that consists of 30 or 40 drops that goes on for a block or two, it would be unnecessary and inappropriate to pick up every single drop of blood along that trail, because you can tell by looking at it that it's a continuous trail being dropped by the same person. What we would like to see, rather than picking up all 40 of them and spending the time doing that, is to pick up what we call a representative sample of that trail, a blood sample from the beginning, maybe one or two in the middle, depending on how long it is or more, and one from the end. I would also expect somebody that's doing a trail like that to collect any sample that appeared that it was out of place or not consistent with the trail. That's my definition of what a representative sample from a crime scene is.
And what about in a situation as in a car like the Bronco in this case? Do you have to collect every last stain in there, or do you take a sample of them? How do you do it?
It depends on the quantity of blood that's present. If there are a number of stains that are grouped together, then I would say no, you probably are not going to collect every single one of them. I would expect somebody that's doing a car search would pick up samples from different areas within the vehicle that represent the possibility of different blood samples coming from different individuals.
And what is the purpose of taking representative samples in situations like the ones you've talked about, as opposed to just collecting every last stain that's there?
Well, we deal with realities when it comes to resources. We have only a certain number of people that are available to collect evidence and a certain number of people to analyze evidence. And at some point, you have to be practical. You have to decide that you're spending too much time picking up every one of these 20 samples, where that time could be better spent evaluating other parts of the scene, getting the samples packaged and ready to go. And then ultimately, when it comes to the serology unit, they are not going to analyze all of those items as a rule anyway. They are going to have relied on the person at the scene to pick up the best samples, the ones that will be most representative of the crime and the people that were involved. And it's the best utilization of the resources so that we can get as much provided for the people of Los Angeles as we can with the resources that we have.
Can you judge how well a criminalist has done in terms of processing or investigating a crime scene with biological evidence by figuring out the quantity of stains that he or she collected?
No, we have had some people that collect very few, but always seem to find the most probative samples. And we have had people in the past that collect many, many samples, but don't always give us the best information.
All right, he's doing great. So we're going to leave it on this note. We're nice and calm and cool and collected today. We are. This was a good day. This was a boring day. So that was really good. And this guy, he gave a lot of good examples. There's just one thing I wish he would have hit more, but he didn't. When he was talking about how he would go to the conventions and the extra learning that he did, oftentimes he would not go to criminology. He would go to other areas to learn that. That's a big deal. Like I remember when I was a programmer, we would go to conventions a couple times a year, and it's like mini school. It's like an hour or two all day long. People have presentations in a hotel, in these conference rooms, in all these different conference rooms, and then it's like a buffet. When you get there, you can pick which things you're going to sit through for the next 3 or 4 days. You could change your mind, but I could sit through writing SQL code all day every day if I wanted to, and that's my job. That was my job, part of my job. But that's not why I went there. That's not what I went to at all. I never went to the SQL writing classes. I went to how the users experienced my software. I went to, how networking worked with my application and my databases. And I learned so much from those little classes than anything I did in my day-to-day job for that type of content. I just didn't hear about it. I didn't hear what the users said over and over every day as they're using, my databases. They're trying to get data. I didn't hear what they're saying, but here I learned, and that's same with him. Like, he was a criminologist, so he wouldn't go to the ones that how to pick up blood from the ground without touching the ground with your hands. No, 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 no. He went to the detective one on what to look for in a leaf pile or whatever. And you just learn so much, and that's where they learned about like the DNA stuff that they didn't know. They went to the DNA where it's not their job to pull apart DNA, but that's where they learned that stuff, and that's where he should have hit on that more, but he didn't, and that's fine. Sure, I'm gonna go with a yes. Anyway, thanks for coming out today, guys. I'll see you again real soon. Be good, okay? Bye, guys.